The alien. Threaten the vast darkness of space, a threat was quietly approaching Earth. For years, humans had been watching the stars, preparing for any danger that might come from the unknown. They had heard stories of other civilizations, some friendly, others not so much, but nothing could prepare them for what was about to happen. On a quiet evening, deep within the command center of Earth's defense network, alarms suddenly blared. Screens flashed red as the radar detected something unusual. A fleet of unidentified ships was moving fast, heading straight for Earth. The scientists and military officers gathered around the main screen, their faces serious. This was no ordinary fleet. It was massive, far larger than anything they had ever seen. Commander James, a seasoned military leader, quickly took charge. "What do we know about them?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "Sir, they're not responding to our hails. Their technology is advanced far beyond ours," replied Dr. Elena, one of the leading scientists. "We believe they're hostile." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. For years they had prepared for such a moment, but now that it was here, the reality was terrifying. "These aliens," Dr. Elena continued, "they're not just any species. According to the data, they're part of an empire known for conquering and destroying entire civilizations. They don't negotiate, they don't show mercy." Commander James nodded. "Then we have no choice. We must prepare for the worst." As the news spread, Earth's leaders quickly gathered in an emergency meeting. There was no time to waste. They needed to act fast if they were to survive. The president addressed the world from her office, her face broadcasted across every screen. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice strong but filled with urgency, "we are facing an unprecedented threat. A fleet of alien ships is approaching our planet, and they do not come in peace. But we will not be intimidated. We are prepared, and we will defend our home." Across the globe, military forces were put on high alert. Fighter jets roared into the skies, and space stations were armed and ready. Soldiers, engineers, and scientists worked around the clock, ensuring that every defense system was operational. The world had never been so united. Nations that once had rivalries now stood side by side, ready to protect their home. Meanwhile, in space, the alien fleet continued its approach. The ships were sleek and dark, moving with eerie precision. Inside, the alien commanders observed Earth with cold, calculating eyes. To them, this was just another conquest, another civilization to add to their empire. They had done it countless times before, and they saw no reason why this time would be any different. But Earth was different. Humans were different. Back on Earth, the tension was palpable. Families gathered around their televisions, watching the news with bated breath. Children asked their parents if everything would be okay, and parents reassured them, even if they weren't sure themselves. The streets were quieter than usual as people stayed indoors, waiting for updates. In the command center, Commander James and Dr. Elena reviewed the latest intelligence. The alien ships were now close enough to be visible from Earth's telescopes, and what they saw was chilling. The fleet was made up of hundreds of ships, each one bristling with weapons. "They're almost here," said Dr. Elena, her voice barely a whisper. Commander James looked at the screen, his jaw set. "We need to send them a message. Let them know that we won't go down without a fight." A message was quickly composed and sent out to the alien fleet. It was short and to the point. "This is Earth. We know who you are and what you want, but we will not surrender. If you attack us, we will defend ourselves with everything we have." The aliens received the message, but they didn't care. To them, Earth's resistance was futile. They had faced stronger enemies and won. What chance did humans have? As the alien fleet moved into position, Earth's defenses were ready. The world held its breath, waiting for the first shot to be fired. Soldiers gripped their weapons and pilots sat in their cockpits, ready to launch into battle. It was a moment of calm before the storm, a brief pause before the chaos. And then, the silence was shattered. The alien ships opened fire, their weapons lighting. Up the sky. Earth's defenses responded in kind, lasers and missiles streaking through space. The battle had begun, but this was just the beginning. Humanity was ready to fight, and they were not alone. Across the galaxy, there were other species who had faced the same threat and lost. But humanity was determined to be different. They had one advantage the aliens hadn't counted on, an unbreakable will to survive. And so, the fight for Earth began, with humanity's final warning echoing through the void. We're ready and waiting. Earth's preparation. As the alien fleet drew closer to Earth, the reality of the situation began to sink in. This was not a drill, nor was it some distant threat that would never materialize. The danger was real, and it was coming fast. Across the globe, governments, military forces, and ordinary citizens were all preparing for what seemed like an inevitable battle. In the heart of the United Nations building in New York, world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. It was a historic moment. Never before had so many nations come together with such urgency. The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the Premier of China, and other key figures from around the world were all present, either in person or via secure video link. "Ladies and gentlemen," began the Secretary General of the United Nations, his voice steady despite the tension in the room, "we are facing an unprecedented threat. The alien fleet will be within striking distance of Earth in a matter of days. We must set aside our differences and work together if we are to have any hope of defending our planet." The room was silent as the leaders considered the gravity of the situation. Old rivalries and political disagreements seemed trivial in the face of this looming danger. After a brief pause, the President of the United States spoke up. "We have already mobilized our military forces," she said. "Our fleets are on high alert, and we are coordinating with our allies to ensure a united front. But we need more than just military strength. We need innovation, strategy, and most importantly, cooperation." The other leaders nodded in agreement. There was no time for hesitation. Plans were quickly put into motion. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists from every corner of the globe began working together, sharing information and resources in a way that had never been done before. In laboratories and research centers around the world, scientists worked tirelessly to develop new technologies and weapons that could give humanity a fighting chance. Some focused on improving existing defense systems, while others explored more unconventional methods. Ideas that had once been dismissed as too radical or impractical were now being given serious consideration. One of the most significant projects was taking place at the European Space Agency's headquarters in Paris. A team of top scientists and engineers, led by Dr. Elena, was working on a new type of energy shield that could protect Earth from the alien fleet's powerful weapons. "This is unlike anything we've ever built before," Dr. Elena explained to her team. "We're essentially creating a barrier that can absorb and deflect energy attacks. If we can get this to work, it could be our best defense against the aliens." The team worked around the clock, testing and refining their designs. There were setbacks and moments of frustration, but they knew they were running out of time. Every second counted, and failure was not an option. Meanwhile, in military bases around the world, soldiers were being trained for the upcoming battle. These were not just ordinary troops. They were the best of the best, elite forces from every nation. They practiced day and night, learning how to operate new weapons and equipment that had been rapidly developed in response to the alien threat. In a secret underground facility in the United States, a group of Navy SEALs was undergoing intense training. They were preparing for a mission that was still classified, but everyone knew it would be dangerous. Commander James, who had been put in charge of this special task force, watched as his men pushed themselves to their limits. "We've trained for every possible scenario," Commander James said to his second-in-command, Captain Stevens. "But this is different. We're facing an enemy that we know almost nothing about. We have to be ready for anything." Captain Stevens nodded. "Do you think we stand a chance, sir?" Commander James paused, considering the question. "I don't know," he admitted. "But we're going to give it everything we've got. That's all we can do." In addition to military preparations, efforts were also being made to protect civilian populations. Cities across the globe were fortifying their defenses, setting up evacuation plans, and stockpiling supplies. People were instructed on how to seek shelter and what to do in case of an attack. The streets were filled with a mixture of fear and determination. No one knew what the future held, but everyone was preparing for the worst. In the midst of all this activity, a surprising alliance was formed. A group of hackers from various countries, who had once been seen as threats to national security, were now being enlisted to help defend Earth. These skilled individuals had a unique set of talents that could be invaluable in the fight against the alien invaders. They worked alongside government cyber units to develop ways to disrupt the alien fleet's communications and navigation systems. "We've never faced anything like this before," said one of the hackers, a young woman known only by her alias, Cypher. "But if there's a way to mess with their tech, we'll find it." As the days passed and the alien fleet drew ever closer, the sense of urgency grew. Everyone knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. But there was also a growing sense of resolve. The people of Earth were not going to go down without a fight. In the final hours before the expected arrival of the alien fleet, the world's leaders addressed their citizens one last time. It was a message of hope, unity, and defiance. "We have done everything we can to prepare for this moment," the President of the United States said in a televised speech that was broadcast across the globe. "We stand together, ready to defend our home. To the people of Earth, I say this: stay strong, stay brave, and know that we are ready." The message was clear. Humanity would not be caught off guard. They had prepared for this moment with everything they had, and now they were ready and waiting for the battle that would determine their future. As the alien fleet entered the solar system, they were met with a sight they had not expected: a planet united, prepared, and determined to survive. First class, the alien fleet had finally arrived, their massive ships casting dark shadows across the solar system as they approached Earth. From the ground, they looked like distant, glittering stars, but every human knew these were not stars. They were the harbingers of destruction. The entire planet held its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash. In the command center, Commander James stood before the large tactical screen, studying the movements of the alien ships. The room was filled with tension, every eye on the screen, every mind focused on the task at hand. They had prepared as much as they could, but now it was time to see if their efforts would be enough. "They're moving into position," said Dr. Elena, her voice barely a whisper. She had been instrumental in preparing Earth's defenses, but even she felt a knot of fear in her stomach as the alien fleet loomed closer. Commander James nodded, his face grim. "We knew this was coming. Now it's time to show them what we're made of." The alien ships began to fan out, forming a wide arc around Earth, as if they were encircling their prey. Each ship was a colossal structure, bristling with weapons that were beyond human understanding. The sight of them sent a chill down the spines of everyone watching. Suddenly, without warning, the first shot was fired. A bright beam of energy shot from one of the alien ships, aimed directly at one of Earth's orbital defense stations. The station's shields flared up, absorbing the impact, but the force of the attack was immense. The station shook violently, its lights flickering, but it held together. "Return fire!" Commander James ordered. Earth's defense stations, scattered across the planet's orbit, responded instantly. Powerful lasers and missiles streaked through the vacuum of space, targeting the alien ships. The battle had begun. The first exchange of fire was intense. The alien ships unleashed a barrage of energy beams, each one more powerful than the last. Earth's defense stations fired back with everything they had, their weapons blazing in a desperate attempt to push the invaders back. One of the alien ships was hit by a direct missile strike. The explosion lit up the sky, and for a moment, there was hope that it had been destroyed. But as the smoke cleared, the ship emerged, damaged but still operational. It was clear that these ships were built to withstand enormous amounts of punishment. On the ground, people watched in horror and awe as the battle unfolded above them. The night sky was filled with streaks of light, as if the stars themselves were at war. The media broadcasted the battle live, showing the world what was happening in real time. Families huddled together in their homes, praying for a miracle. In space, the fight was growing more intense by the minute. Earth's forces were putting up a fierce resistance, but the aliens were relentless. They seemed to have an endless supply of energy, their weapons never pausing, their ships maneuvering with precision. Inside one of the alien ships, the commander of the fleet observed the battle with cold detachment. To him, this was just another operation, another planet to conquer. But something was different about this one. The humans were putting up more of a fight than he had anticipated. "Increase power to the main cannon," the alien commander ordered. "Target their strongest defense station. Let's end this quickly." The order was carried out without hesitation. One of the largest alien ships began charging its main weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of devastating entire cities with a single shot. The cannon glowed with a fierce blue light, growing brighter with each passing second. Back in the command center, the technicians quickly detected the buildup of energy. Alarms blared as they realized what was happening. "Commander, they're targeting Defense Station Alpha," shouted one of the technicians. "Their cannon is almost fully charged." Commander James's mind raced. If that cannon fired, Defense Station Alpha, the most critical part of Earth's defenses, would be obliterated. He had to make a decision, and he had to make it fast. "Divert all available power to Alpha's shields," he ordered, "and prepare to launch the countermeasure." The technicians worked frantically, rerouting power from other stations to boost Alpha's shields. At the same time, a team of engineers prepared the countermeasure, a specially designed missile that had been developed to disrupt the energy output of alien weapons. The alien cannon reached full charge, its light now so bright that it was visible from the surface of the Earth. And then, it fired. The beam of energy was enormous, a blinding streak of blue that shot across the void of space, heading straight for Defense Station Alpha. The station's shields flared to life, their energy fields glowing as they absorbed the impact. But the force of the beam was overwhelming. The shields held for a moment, then began to crack under the pressure. The station shook violently, pieces of metal and debris flying off as the structure struggled to stay intact. "Now!" Commander James shouted. The countermeasure missile was launched, speeding toward the source of the energy beam. It was a desperate gamble. If the missile worked, it would disrupt the alien ship's power systems and stop the cannon. If it failed, Alpha would be destroyed. The missile struck the alien ship, and for a brief moment everything went dark. The energy beam flickered, then died out as the alien ship's systems went offline. The sudden loss of power caused the ship to drift, its weapons silenced. Cheers erupted in the command center. They had done it. Defense Station Alpha was damaged, but it was still operational. The alien fleet had been dealt a serious blow, but the battle was far from over. The remaining alien ships quickly adapted, launching a renewed assault with even greater ferocity. Earth's forces were holding their ground, but they knew they couldn't keep this up forever. As the first clash drew to a close, both sides were bloodied but unbroken. The aliens had learned that Earth would not be an easy target, while humanity had proven that they were ready to fight. The war was just beginning, and both sides knew that the next battle would be even more intense. Silent preparation. The battle had subsided, leaving a tense silence in its wake. The alien fleet, though damaged, remained in orbit, their presence a looming threat over Earth. The first clash had shown the aliens that humanity would not surrender easily, but it had also revealed the terrifying power the invaders wielded. Now, both sides were regrouping, preparing for the next inevitable confrontation. On Earth, the atmosphere was one of cautious determination. The initial shock of the alien attack had given way to a steely resolve. Every person knew that the war was far from over, and the next battle could decide the fate of the planet. In every corner of the globe, preparations were being made in silence, the calm before the storm. In the underground bunkers of the Global Defense Command, the mood was somber but focused. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing the damage from the first battle and reinforcing Earth's defenses. The command center buzzed with activity as strategists and military leaders analyzed the data from the clash, trying to predict the aliens' next move. Commander James, the leader of Earth's defense forces, stood over a large holographic display of the solar system. His mind was racing with possibilities. The alien fleet was formidable, but they had weaknesses. The key to victory would be exploiting those weaknesses before the aliens could adapt. "We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for their next attack," James said, his voice firm. "But we can't just sit and wait. We need to take the fight to them." Dr. Elena, the chief scientist and one of James's closest advisors, nodded in agreement. "I've been working on a new type of weapon, something that might give us an edge. It's not ready yet, but if we can buy some time, it could turn the tide. What do you need? James asked. Time and resources, Elena replied. We've already started the prototypes, but scaling up production will take everything we've got. If we can hold off their next attack, we might be able to surprise them. James considered her words. The alien fleet was vast, and their technology was far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered. But they weren't invincible. The first battle had proven that. Start the production immediately, James ordered. I'll coordinate with the other commanders to set up a defensive perimeter. We'll need to keep them at bay for as long as possible. Elena hurried off to her lab, where teams of scientists and engineers were already hard at work. The atmosphere in the lab was electric, filled with the urgency of their task. They were working on something completely new, a weapon that could harness the very energy the aliens used against them. If it worked, it could neutralize the enemy's advantage. As the scientists worked, the military leaders were busy planning their next moves. In hidden bases and secure bunkers, soldiers were being briefed on new tactics and strategies. The lessons from the first clash were clear. The aliens were powerful, but they could be fought. The key was to stay one step ahead, to outthink and outmaneuver the enemy. On the surface, life continued as usual for many civilians, though the looming threat of another attack hung over them. Governments around the world had ordered mass evacuations from major cities, moving people to safer locations in case the aliens decided to target population centers. It was a massive operation, coordinated with military precision, but it was done quietly, without causing panic. The media played a crucial role in maintaining calm. News channels broadcasted reassuring messages, highlighting humanity's resilience and the ongoing efforts to protect Earth. People were encouraged to stay indoors, to trust in their leaders, and to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. In the quiet countryside, far from the chaos of the cities, families huddled together, listening to the news and praying for the safety of their loved ones. Many had sent their sons and daughters to fight in the defense forces, and now they waited anxiously for news. The world had changed overnight, and the future was uncertain. As night fell, the world seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet remained silent, hovering above the planet like a dark omen. The calm was eerie, filled with an unspoken tension. Everyone knew that the next attack could come at any moment. In the darkness, Earth's forces prepared in silence. New defense stations were being constructed, hidden from the enemy's sensors. Secret weapon caches were being distributed to key locations, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. Communications were kept to a minimum, using secure channels to avoid detection by the alien fleet. Commander James spent the night in the command center, going over every detail, every possibility. He knew that the aliens were likely doing the same, preparing their next move, but he was determined to be ready. Humanity had come too far to be defeated now. In Dr. Elena's lab, the new weapon was beginning to take shape. The scientists worked through the night, pushing themselves to the limit. The prototypes were showing promise, but there was still much to do. Elena knew that time was against them, but she was determined to see it through. As dawn approached, the first signs of activity were detected from the alien fleet. Their ships were beginning to move, slowly rearranging themselves into a new formation. It was a clear signal the next attack was imminent. Commander James watched the alien movements on the holographic display, his face set in determination. "It's time," he said quietly. "Everyone to your stations. This is what we've been preparing for." The call went out across the world. Soldiers took up their positions. Engineers made the final adjustments to the defense systems, and civilians braced themselves for what was to come. The silent preparation was over. The battle was about to begin. The big war begins. The silence that had settled over Earth was abruptly shattered as the alien fleet began to move. The massive ships, now fully repaired and reinforced, descended from their positions above the planet, preparing for another assault. The calm before the storm had ended, and the big war was about to begin. In the command center, Commander James and his "Prepare for engagement," James ordered. "All stations activate defense systems. This is it." The command center was a hive of activity as orders were transmitted to every corner of the globe. Defense stations across Earth's orbit powered up, their weapon systems coming online with a low hum. The newly developed weapon, designed by Dr. Elena's team, was now ready and awaiting activation. Meanwhile, on the surface, the world's population braced itself. People gathered in shelters, schools, and makeshift bunkers. They had been preparing for this moment, but now the reality of the situation set in. The sky was filled with dark, menacing shapes as the alien ships closed in. Above the Earth, the first wave of alien ships unleashed a barrage of energy beams and missiles. The defense stations responded immediately, their weapons firing in a dazzling display of light. Explosions lit up the sky as the two sides clashed. The air was thick with the sounds of battle, the roar of energy cannons, the whine of missiles, and the constant hum of the defense systems. Commander James watched the battle unfold on the holographic display. The alien ships were relentless, their attacks coming in waves, testing the strength of Earth's defenses. The new weapon, which had been kept a closely guarded secret, was activated for the first time. It emitted a powerful energy pulse, disrupting the alien ship's systems and causing several of them to stagger. "We're making progress," James said, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "Keep the pressure on them. Don't let up." On the ground, the tension was palpable. Families huddled together, their eyes glued to the news reports, which showed the intensity of the battle from various angles. The media was filled with updates, showing the heroism of soldiers and the strength of Earth's defenses. In space, the battle was fierce. Earth's forces were holding their ground, but the aliens were adapting quickly. They began to deploy smaller, more agile ships that darted around the defense stations, launching precision attacks. The new weapon continued to disrupt the enemy's systems, but the aliens were not easily defeated. Dr. Elena's lab was a frenzy of activity as her team worked to keep the new weapon operational. The weapon's energy output was unstable, and the scientists were pushing it to its limits. Elena herself was focused on monitoring the weapon's performance, making real-time adjustments to ensure it remained effective. "Status report," James demanded. "Weapon performance is holding steady," one of the technicians replied. "We're seeing significant disruption in the alien fleet's communications and targeting systems." "Good," James said. "Keep it up. We need every advantage we can get." As the hours passed, the battle raged on. The alien fleet launched several high-intensity attacks, targeting key defense stations and attempting to break through Earth's perimeter. The defense stations fought back with everything they had, their weapons blazing in the vacuum of space. Despite the chaos, Earth's forces managed to hold their position. The alien fleet was formidable, but they were encountering unexpected resistance. The new weapon had proven to be a game-changer, its ability to disrupt the alien systems providing a critical edge. On the ground, the atmosphere was one of grim determination. The battle was intense, but the people of Earth refused to give in to fear. They had seen the resolve of their soldiers and the strength of their defenses, and they stood united, ready to support the fight in any way they could. As night fell, the battle showed no signs of slowing. The alien fleet continued its assault, but Earth's defenses remained strong. The new weapon had taken a toll on the invaders, and their attacks became less coordinated. The alien ships were starting to show signs of damage, their once formidable formations breaking apart. Commander James surveyed the scene from the command center, his face set in concentration. The battle had been hard fought, but the tide was beginning to turn. Earth's forces had proven their mettle, and the alien fleet was beginning to retreat. "Prepare for counterattack," James ordered. "We need to push them back and secure our position." The defense stations shifted their focus, launching a series of counterattacks against the retreating alien ships. The new weapon continued to disrupt the enemy, its effects visible as alien ships drifted aimlessly, their systems failing. As the battle drew to a close, the alien fleet began to pull back, their ships damaged and disorganized. The sight of their retreat was met with cheers from Earth's forces, a sign that the first major engagement had been a victory. In the command center, Commander James and his team took a moment to breathe. The battle had been intense, but they had survived. Earth had faced its first major T. As the night wore on, the world began to recover from the chaos of battle. The media broadcasted messages of triumph and resilience, while people emerged from their shelters, their spirits lifted by the news of victory. But the war was far from over. The alien fleet would regroup and more battles were sure to come. For now, though, Earth had achieved a crucial victory. The big war had begun, and humanity had proven that it was ready to fight. The turning point. The alien fleet had retreated, but the respite was only temporary. Earth's forces were still on high alert, knowing that the invaders would regroup and plan their next move. Despite the victory, the war was far from over. The turning point was still to come, and both sides were preparing for what was next. In the command center, Commander James and his team were analyzing the aftermath of the battle. The retreat of the alien fleet had given Earth's forces a much-needed breather, but the aliens were far from defeated. The command center was filled with the hum of activity as analysts worked to decode the alien communications and understand their strategies. Dr. Elena's team continued to work on the new weapon, refining its design and improving its effectiveness. The weapon had played a crucial role in the last battle, but it needed further enhancements to deal with the alien threat. The scientists worked around the clock, determined to give Earth's forces every possible advantage. "We've identified a pattern in the alien attacks," one of the analysts reported. "They seem to follow a cycle of aggressive assaults, followed by periods of regrouping. If we can predict their cycle, we might be able to plan our next moves more effectively." James nodded. "That's good news. We need to use this time wisely. Let's focus on strengthening our defenses and preparing for the next wave. We also need to find out more about their command structure. Understanding their leadership could give us a significant edge." Meanwhile, the alien fleet was regrouping in the far reaches of space. The retreat had been a strategic withdrawal, allowing them to repair their damaged ships and reassess their tactics. The alien leaders were not pleased with the outcome of the battle, but they were determined to turn the tide in their favor. In the alien command ship, the leaders gathered around a large holographic display of the galaxy. Their faces were tense and their voices were filled with frustration. "We underestimated the humans," one of the leaders said. "Their defenses were stronger than we anticipated. We need a new strategy to break through." Another leader, a tall figure with glowing eyes, nodded in agreement. "We must adapt. We've identified their key weaknesses. If we strike at their most vulnerable points, we can force them to surrender." The alien fleet began to prepare for their next move, focusing on a new strategy designed to exploit the weaknesses they had observed in Earth's defenses. They began to deploy specialized ships equipped with advanced cloaking technology, making them nearly invisible to Earth's sensors. Back on Earth, the atmosphere was one of cautious optimism. The first major battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The people were recovering from the initial shock, but their resolve remained strong. The media continued to broadcast updates, showing the resilience and bravery of the soldiers and civilians. In the underground bunkers, the atmosphere was one of intense focus. The new weapon was nearing completion, and Dr. Elena was optimistic about its potential. The weapon had already proven its worth, but the final enhancements could make a significant difference. "Almost there," Elena said to her team. "We've made several key improvements. If this works as we expect, it could change the course of the war." As Earth's forces prepared for the next wave, the alien fleet began its assault. The new strategy involved a coordinated attack on Earth's most critical infrastructure. The alien ships, cloaked and nearly invisible, moved in close, launching precise strikes on key targets. The attack was sudden and intense. Earth's defense stations were caught off guard by the unexpected assault. The cloaked alien ships struck with deadly accuracy, targeting power grids, communication relays, and key military installations. The command center was thrown into chaos as the first reports of the attack came in. James and his team scrambled to respond, directing their forces to counter the new threat. The initial shock of the attack was severe, but Earth's forces quickly began to adapt. "We're dealing with cloaked ships," James said, his voice grim. "Deploy the new weapon. It's time to see if it can make a difference." The new weapon was activated, its powerful energy pulse cutting through the alien cloaking technology. The weapon's effects were immediate and dramatic. The cloaked ships became visible, their positions revealed to Earth's defenses. The alien fleet, caught off guard by the sudden loss of their advantage, began to falter. Earth's forces, now able to see their enemy, launched a counterattack with renewed vigor. The battle was fierce, but the tide began to turn in favor of Earth. In the midst of the chaos, James and Elena worked closely, coordinating their efforts to maximize the effectiveness of the new weapon. The improvements had made a significant impact, allowing Earth's forces to regain control and push back against the alien assault. The turning point had arrived. The alien fleet, battered and disorganized, began to retreat once again. Earth's forces, though exhausted, pressed the advantage, determined to drive the invaders away for good. As the alien ships withdrew, the command center erupted in cheers. The tide of the battle had shifted, and Earth had gained a crucial advantage. The turning point had been reached, but the war was far from over. The aliens would regroup and plan their next move, but Earth's forces were now better prepared and more determined than ever. In the aftermath of the battle, the world began to heal. The media broadcasted messages of triumph and hope, celebrating the resilience of humanity. The people of Earth had faced a critical challenge and emerged victorious. The turning point in the war had been achieved, and the future now held the promise of a new era of determination and strength. But as the alien fleet retreated, the question remained, what would the invaders do next? The war was far from over, and Earth's forces needed to stay vigilant. The next phase of the conflict was already on the horizon, and humanity was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The final showdown, the war had reached its climax. After months of fierce battles and relentless skirmishes, the final showdown between Earth and the alien invaders was imminent. Both sides had fought hard, but only one could emerge victorious. The atmosphere was tense as the decisive moment approached. In the command center, Commander James and his team were preparing for the final confrontation. The recent victories had boosted morale, but they knew that the alien fleet would be determined to strike a decisive blow. The command center was a hive of activity as officers and analysts reviewed the final battle plans. "Everything is in place," James said, surveying the room. "We've fortified our positions and strengthened our defenses. This is our chance to end the war." Dr. Elena's team had continued to work on the new weapon, making final adjustments to ensure it would be at its most effective. The weapon had already proven its worth, but it needed to perform flawlessly in this final engagement. "Weapon status?" James asked. "Fully operational," Elena replied. "We've optimized its output and made it more reliable. It should give us the edge we need." The final battle began with a sudden, intense burst of energy as the alien fleet emerged from their hidden positions. The alien ships, now regrouped and reinforced, moved toward Earth with a determined aggression. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed, reflecting their desperation to win. The skies above Earth were filled with a dazzling display of lights and explosions as the two sides clashed. The alien fleet launched a massive assault, their ships firing powerful energy beams and missiles. Earth's defense stations responded with equal ferocity, their weapons blazing in a coordinated counterattack. The initial stages of the battle were chaotic. The alien ships moved with precision, targeting key points in Earth's defenses. The new weapon was activated, its energy pulse cutting through the alien fleet's formations and disrupting their attacks. The weapon's effects were immediate, revealing the enemy's positions and giving Earth's forces a crucial advantage. Commander James directed the battle from the command center, his eyes focused on the holographic display. The alien fleet was relentless, but Earth's forces were equally determined. The final showdown was a test of endurance and strategy, and both sides were giving it their all. In space, the battle raged on. The alien ships, despite their advanced technology, were struggling to cope with the new weapon's effects. Their formations began to break apart as Earth's defenses pressed the attack. The alien fleet, once so confident, was now facing a relentless counter-offensive. Dr. Elena watched the battle unfold from her lab, her face tense with concentration. The new weapon was performing beyond expectations, its energy pulses causing significant damage to the alien ships. The improvements had paid off, and the weapon was proving to be a game-changer. "We're making progress," Elena said to her team. "Keep the weapon focused on their command ships." If we can disrupt their leadership, we might be able to break their will. As the battle continued, Earth's forces launched a series of coordinated strikes against the alien fleet. The new weapons' effects were evident as alien ships drifted aimlessly or exploded in spectacular displays of light. The tide of the battle was shifting in Earth's favor, but the aliens were not giving up easily. The alien command ship, now under heavy attack, was a focal point of the battle. The ship's leadership was desperately trying to regroup their forces and launch a counterattack. The alien leaders, realizing that their plans were unraveling, were determined to turn the tide before it was too late. The final stages of the battle were intense. Earth's forces pressed the attack, their determination fueled by the desire to end the war. The alien fleet, battered and disorganized, began to falter. The once formidable invaders were now struggling to maintain their positions. In the command center, James watched as the alien fleet's formations disintegrated. The new weapon had done its job, and the alien fleet was in disarray. The final showdown was reaching its climax, and Earth's forces were poised for victory. "We've got them on the ropes," James said, his voice filled with determination. "Let's finish this." The final assault was launched, focusing all available firepower on the alien command ship. The ship, now heavily damaged, was the last stronghold of the alien fleet. The intense barrage of energy beams and missiles took its toll, and the command ship began to break apart. As the alien command ship was destroyed, the remaining alien forces began to retreat. The once mighty fleet was now a shattered remnant of its former self. Earth's forces continued their assault, driving the invaders away and securing their victory. The battle ended with a final, decisive explosion as the last of the alien ships were driven off. Earth's forces had achieved a hard-fought victory. The final showdown had been intense, but humanity had prevailed. In the aftermath of the battle, the command center erupted in cheers. The final confrontation had been a success, and Earth had won. The media broadcasted images of the victory, celebrating the bravery and resilience of the soldiers and civilians. As the world began to recover from the war, the focus shifted to rebuilding and healing. The people of Earth had faced a grave threat and emerged victorious. The final showdown had marked the end of a long and difficult conflict, and humanity was ready to move forward. The victory was a testament to Earth's strength and determination. The war had been hard fought, but it had forged a new sense of unity and purpose. As the dust settled and the rebuilding began, the world looked toward a future of peace and progress, forever changed by the trials of the final showdown.